An entire library of human experience is written in languages no one alive can read. This is the haunting reality for countless lost civilizations, their stories sealed behind silent symbols. We are about to journey into the emotional search for these vanished scripts, a quest that will reveal how a single cracked code can resurrect an entire world view from the ashes of time. You will discover the incredible human drama behind the decipherment of ancient languages and understand why giving voice to a lost people feels like recovering a piece of our own soul. How did a slab of stone become the key to an entire empire's secrets? What does it feel like to be the first person in millennia to hear a pharaoh's true voice? When you think of a civilization that disappeared without a trace, what part of its story would you most want to hear? 5,000 years ago, a Sumerian hand pressed a reed stylus into a soft clay tablet. With that simple physical act, a series of wedge-shaped marks were born. This was the beginning of cuneiform, and it was so much more than just inventory lists or royal decrees. Think of the immense psychological leap that moment represents. For the first time in human history, a thought could be captured. It could travel across space carried by a messenger and be understood by someone far away. More profoundly, it could travel across time, speaking to generations yet unborn. Writing was humanity's first true weapon against oblivion. It was a conscious refusal to be erased by time, a declaration that our stories, our laws, and our very names mattered enough to be made permanent. This emotional power is the heart of the matter. When we lose a script, when its meaning is locked away, we are not just losing data. We are witnessing the collapse of that bridge of consciousness. We are hearing the echo of a voice that once confidently stated, "We were here," fall silent. The desperate, often deeply personal quest to decipher these lost languages is, at its core, an attempt to rebuild that bridge, to answer that silenced voice and restore its place in the grand, shared story of us all. A civilization's written voice can be extinguished in an instant, or it can fade over generations until the last person who understands its shapes is gone. This great silencing is rarely an accident. More often, it is the direct consequence of conquest, a brutal political tool used to dismantle a people's identity. When a new empire rises, its language frequently becomes the language of power, of law, and of commerce. To survive, conquered peoples must adapt, and in that adaptation, their own scripts can become marks of the old ways, of a past that is no longer useful or even safe to remember. The spread of Latin across the vast Roman Empire is a powerful example. As Latin became the administrative tongue of millions, it gradually drowned out the unique written voices of countless local cultures across Europe, their native scripts falling into disuse and eventual oblivion. But political force is only one part of this tragic equation. Sometimes the end comes from a complete societal collapse, where the entire structure that supported literacy simply vanishes. The great cities of the Indus Valley civilization, with their sophisticated plumbing and orderly streets, fell into ruin for reasons we still do not fully understand. Their unique Harappan script, etched onto small, intricate seals, disappeared right along with them. With no one left to teach it or use it, the writing became a collection of silent symbols, a locked door with the key thrown away. Then there are the raw, uncontrollable forces of nature. The brilliant Minoan culture on Crete used a script we call Linear A. Its vibrant palaces and bustling ports were likely crippled by the catastrophic volcanic eruption of Thera, an event of unimaginable scale. In the chaos and depopulation that followed, the knowledge of how to read and write Linear may have simply died out, buried under ash and lost to time. The death of a script is almost always a complex story. It is a cascade of political pressure, social change, and sometimes pure catastrophe, all converging to erase a people's written identity from the world. And it is the profound silence they leave behind that creates an ache, a void that calls out across centuries for someone, anyone, to listen. In the shadow of so many lost voices, a single discovery can change everything. The story of the Rosetta Stone is the ultimate proof of this, a beacon of hope that shattered a silence lasting for nearly 2,000 years. Found by French soldiers in 1799 during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt, this dark slab of granodiorite was not immediately understood for the miracle it was. It bore the same mundane royal decree from the time of Ptolemy V, repeated in 3 distinct scripts. Ancient Greek, which scholars could read, provided the anchor. The second was Demotic, a cursive script used for everyday purposes in Egypt, and the third was the most mysterious of all, the sacred and utterly enigmatic hieroglyphs. For the first time, researchers had a direct parallel text, a linguistic bridge to a lost world, yet for more than 2 decades the stone resisted all attempts. It sat there, a beautiful but unyielding puzzle, its promise just out of reach. The emotional breakthrough arrived not through cold, methodical process alone, but through the passionate obsession of one man, Jean-François Champollion. He lived and breathed ancient Egypt, convinced that the hieroglyphs were more than just simple picture writing. His brilliant insight was that the symbols could also represent sounds, the consonants of the Egyptian language. He focused on the royal names like Ptolemy and Cleopatra, which were circled in cartouches. By matching the hieroglyphs in those cartouches to the sounds of the Greek names, he began to crack the code. The moment of realization was electric. He reportedly ran to his brother's office, flung his papers on the desk, and shouted, "G times mon affaire, I have got it," before collapsing in a dead faint. That cry of triumph was more than a personal victory. It was a shout that echoed across centuries, finally giving voice to the pharaohs and restoring an entire civilization's written soul. This story set the stage for every decipherment to come, proving that with the right key, even the most profound silence can be broken. While the Rosetta Stone offered a triumphant key, the silent symbols of the Indus Valley present a far more profound and heartbreaking challenge. Across the vast expanse of what is now Pakistan and northwest India, the Indus Valley civilization thrived for centuries, building meticulously planned cities with the world's first known urban sanitation systems. This was a society of incredible sophistication and order. They left behind thousands of small, beautifully carved stone seals, each one inscribed with a series of elegant, often animal-like symbols. We have the text, a vast collection of it, but the language itself is a locked vault for which we have never found the combination. There is no Rosetta Stone for the Indus, no bilingual inscription offering a single point of entry. Researchers are like listeners at a party where everyone is speaking a language they can almost, but not quite, understand, surrounded by voices but isolated in silence. The emotional toll on those who dedicate their lives to this puzzle is immense. They are faced with a beautiful, intricate code that refuses to yield, and the weight of an entire civilization's untold story rests on their shoulders. The debate over what these symbols even represent is fierce and deeply personal. Is it a full, spoken language waiting to be read, or is it a proto-writing system, a collection of clan symbols or religious signs that never represented the sounds of speech? Each new theory, whether connecting it to ancient Dravidian languages or arguing for a non-linguistic system, carries the hope of a breakthrough. To prove one theory right is to potentially unlock the worldview of millions of people, to hear their thoughts on trade, on gods, on daily life. Yet for now, the seals remain silent. They are a poignant and humbling reminder of the limits of our knowledge, a closed door that challenges our very ability to understand the human past, proving that some voices, despite our most desperate efforts, remain just beyond our reach. While the Indus script remains a silent fortress, another ancient code was cracked through sheer human brilliance and obsession. For over 50 years, the mysterious script known as Linear B, found on clay tablets across Crete and mainland Greece, was a puzzle that consumed some of the sharpest intellects of the age. It defied all easy answers, a collection of intricate signs that seemed to hold the secrets of the grand Minoan palaces and the shadowy Mycenaean warlords. The path to its decipherment was paved not by a single flash of genius, but by decades of meticulous, often lonely, work. A key figure in this long struggle was a professor named Alice Kober, who devoted her life to the problem with a ferocious and systematic dedication. She filled thousands of index cards with meticulous notes, analyzing the patterns and frequencies of the signs until her fingers were stained with ink. Kober constructed detailed grids, mapping the relationships between the symbols, laying a crucial foundation of pure logic. Tragically, she died young, before she could see the mystery solved, her life's work a testament to the immense personal sacrifice often hidden behind these intellectual quests. Her torch was picked up by a most unlikely figure, a man named Michael Ventris. By profession, he was an architect, but by passion, he was a codebreaker who had been fascinated by Linear B since he was a schoolboy. Ventris brought something different to the problem, a blend of artistic intuition and architectural precision. He took Kober's logical grids and began to experiment, treating the script like a three-dimensional structure that needed to be built from the ground up. He worked under the assumption that the language might be Greek, but he followed the evidence wherever it led, testing and discarding theory after theory. The emotional climax came not in a grand lecture hall, but in the quiet of his study as the patterns finally clicked into place. He realized that certain groups of signs corresponded to place names on Crete, names that were undeniably Greek. The word for Knossos was there, written in a syllabic script that was over 3,000 years old. In that breathtaking moment, the Bronze Age was no longer silent. The language of the magnificent palace at Knossos was an early form of Greek, pushing the history of the Greek language back by centuries and directly connecting the world of the Mycenaeans to the epic poems of Homer. It was a revelation that rewrote history. The triumph, however, was shadowed by profound personal tragedy. Just a few years after his world-shaking achievement, Michael Ventris died in a car accident at the age of 34. His life was cut brutally short, but his work stands as an eternal monument. It is a powerful reminder that a single dedicated individual, armed with passion and persistence, can illuminate a lost world, restoring a voice to civilizations we thought were gone forever. That profound need to answer a silent text can become an all-consuming fire. The emotional burden carried by a decipherer is a story in itself, one of obsession, isolation, and immense psychological pressure. Picture a solitary figure surrounded by stacks of handwritten notes and photographic facsimiles of ancient inscriptions. They work for years, sometimes for decades, with no guarantee that the puzzle will ever be solved. This is not a simple academic exercise. It is a deeply personal battle against time and silence. They face constant skepticism from their peers, the gut-wrenching frustration of countless dead ends, and the haunting, ever-present fear that the code they have dedicated their life to might be fundamentally unbreakable. This emotional weight is the decipherer's silent partner, a shadow that follows them through every waking hour. The story of Georg Friedrich Grotefend perfectly captures the spirit of this lonely quest. In the early 1800s, with no bilingual text to guide him, Grotefend took on the massive challenge of Old Persian cuneiform. His tools were little more than educated guesses and sheer force of will. He started with a brilliant logical leap, assuming that certain recurring patterns in the inscriptions found in the ruins of Persepolis were probably royal titles. He guessed that the phrase King of Kings would appear, and he postulated the names of known rulers like Darius and Xerxes. Working from these assumptions, he began to assign sounds to the wedge-shaped symbols, building a phonetic alphabet from the ground up. It was an act of breathtaking intellectual courage, a high-stakes gamble based on intuition as much as on hard data. He was essentially shouting into a dark canyon, hoping for an echo, and to his astonishment, one came back. Grotefend's lonely work laid the essential foundation for deciphering not just Old Persian, but the entire family of cuneiform scripts that followed. This drive is not about fame or professional recognition, it is about something far deeper. It is a profound, almost spiritual need to answer the call of the silent text, to prove that human connection can span the millennia. And as we will see, this very need is what pushed these solitary figures to develop ingenious new tools, creating entire systems of thought just to have a conversation with the dead. Comparative linguistics builds bridges where no Rosetta Stone exists. It is the art of listening for echoes, of finding familiar linguistic patterns in the most unfamiliar places. This method relies on a simple but profound truth, that human languages are not isolated islands but part of vast, interconnected families. A decipherer faced with a completely unknown script will search for a known language that might be its distant cousin. They look for structural similarities, for common grammatical rules, or for repeated sequences of symbols that could match known words from a related tongue. The emotional payoff, the aha moment, arrives when one of these patterns snaps into focus. A string of symbols appears again and again, and the decipherer dares to hope it might be the word for king, or for city, or for god. The decipherment of Ugaritic provides a stunning example of this method in action. This ancient script was discovered in the 1920s at the site of Ugarit, on the coast of modern-day Syria. The tablets were written in a previously unknown language, but the script itself was an alphabet, a revolutionary simplification compared to the complex cuneiform of its neighbors. Scholars quickly noticed its grammatical structure was strikingly similar to other ancient Semitic languages, particularly Hebrew and Arabic. They could see familiar word patterns, the skeletons of verbs and nouns they already knew from other texts. This linguistic context gave them the framework to start assigning sounds to the strange new letters. It was like recognizing a family resemblance in a face you have never seen before. That moment of recognition is not a cold, clinical deduction. It feels like a sudden connection, as if a voice from the past has just whispered a word you can almost understand. But reaching that point demands a deep, almost intuitive immersion. A decipherer must live inside the problem, turning the symbols over and over in their mind, looking at them from every possible angle until a pattern emerges from the noise. It is a painstaking process of building a linguistic bridge, stone by stone, across a chasm of time and silence. Each correctly identified word adds another stone to the path, until finally, the decipherer can walk across and meet the waiting voices on the other side. The second tool in the modern decipherer's kit is statistical analysis, a method that replaces intuition with immense computational power. This approach treats an undeciphered script not as a literary mystery, but as a vast dataset of mathematical patterns. Computers are tasked with analyzing the entire known corpus of a script, relentlessly counting how often each symbol appears, which symbols tend to cluster together, and how these sequences are distributed. The emotional core of this method is a new kind of hope, the belief that invisible structures, the hidden grammar of a lost language, can be revealed through the sheer force of number crunching. Does a specific pair of signs always appear at the beginning of a line, perhaps marking a common preposition or a royal title? Does the frequency of a certain symbol match what we would expect for a vowel in a spoken language? These are the questions that statistics can begin to answer. The world's most famous unread book, the Vanish manuscript, is the prime example of this ongoing struggle. For over a century, its bizarre botanical illustrations and utterly unknown script have resisted every human attempt at understanding. Today, armies of algorithms have taken up the challenge. They have mapped the complex relationships between its strange words, confirming that the text does follow the statistical patterns of a genuine, structured language and not an elaborate hoax. This finding in itself was a profound emotional lift, a validation that there is something real and coherent waiting to be understood. The process lacks the dramatic flair of a Champollion shouting in triumph, but it offers a different, deeply satisfying reward. It is the quiet confidence of collaborative science, the patient chipping away at an ancient wall, one day to point at a time. This systematic effort proves that the search for lost voices is no longer a solitary pursuit, but a global conversation between the human mind and the machines it built to extend its own reach. The third and perhaps most human tool for cracking an ancient code is found not in a dictionary but in the dirt. Every forgotten text was once a physical object, held by a real person in a specific place for a specific reason. A clay tablet lies shattered on the floor of a burned palace. An inscription is carved beside the image of a king on a stone stela. A merchant's seal is found buried with a hoard of foreign coins. These are not just artifacts, they are scenes from a life, and they provide the emotional scenery for the words themselves. This method, using archaeological context and material culture, demands that a decipherer becomes more than a linguist. They must become a detective, an anthropologist, and a storyteller, piecing together the world that gave the script its meaning. The dramatic decipherment of Mayan glyphs showcases this power perfectly. For generations, the intricate symbols covering towering stone monuments in the jungle were considered mere religious pictures, utterly unreadable. The breakthrough came when scholars like Tatyana Proskoryakov began to study the glyphs in the context of the entire monument. She noticed that certain clusters of symbols always appeared next to specific images of Mayan rulers, often showing dates of birth, accession to the throne, and military victories. She was not just looking at the glyphs, she was reading the story they were telling within their physical setting. This was the key. By connecting the abstract symbols to the vivid carvings of kings, gods, and rituals right beside them, researchers could finally begin to hear the boasts of dynasties and the chronicles of wars. The puzzle transformed from a cold linguistic exercise into a profound act of historical empathy. You are no longer just matching a sign to a sound. You are standing before a tomb, reading the name of the queen who was buried there, and understanding the offerings left for her journey to the afterlife. You are holding a broken pot with a scrawled label, and suddenly you know it once held wine from a specific vineyard for a specific temple feast. This tool breathes life back into the symbols, anchoring them to the tangible world of people who loved, traded, ruled, and feared. It reminds us that writing was never just about words. It was about the world those words were trying to describe, a world we can now begin to walk through again, one rediscovered clue at a time. For every Rosetta Stone, there is a phantom library, a collection of texts that stand just beyond the border of our understanding. These are the scripts that have stubbornly resisted every tool and every brilliant mind brought to bear against them. They are the ghosts in our historical machine, constant reminders of how much we have lost. The beautiful, flowing script of Linear from Minoan Crete is one of these enduring phantoms. We know it is the parent script to the deciphered Linear B, yet its language remains a locked door. Holding a tablet inscribed with Linear is a uniquely frustrating experience. You are looking at the administrative records of a vibrant palace culture. You can almost feel the presence of the scribe, but their words are utterly mute. Then there is Rongo Rongo, a script carved onto wooden tablets by the people of Easter Island. Discovered only after contact with the outside world had already shattered the island's culture, these glyphs of birdmen and strange creatures may hold the key to understanding one of humanity's most isolated and enigmatic societies. But with no living tradition and no clear bilingual text, the carvings are a silent chorus. In ancient Iran, the Proto-Elamite script presents another profound mystery. It is one of the very earliest writing systems in the world, nearly as old as the first cuneiform from Mesopotamia, yet we cannot read a single word. These scripts hold researchers in a state of tantalizing, agonizing proximity. They have the physical artifacts, they have sophisticated statistical models, and they have deep historical context. They can count the frequency of every sign and map its relationship to every other sign. But the final, crucial connection, the spark that breathes sound and meaning into the symbols, has not yet come. This is the emotional core of the Phantom Library, a perpetual cycle of hope and frustration. Each new theory feels like it might be the one, the key that will finally turn the lock. And with each theory that fails, the silence seems to grow heavier. These unsolved mysteries are more than just academic puzzles. They are a humbling lesson. They teach us that our knowledge of the human past is filled with vast, echoing gaps. They prove the incredible fragility of cultural memory, how an entire way of thinking can be reduced to a set of beautiful but meaningless shapes. And yet, this very elusiveness is what creates the deepest emotional pull. For a certain kind of scholar, for a certain kind of mind, the idea that a civilization story could remain forever untold is simply unacceptable. The Phantom Library is not a museum of failure. It is a collection of open invitations, a perpetual challenge whispered across the centuries, daring someone to finally listen. The Etruscan language stands as a ghost in the machine of the ancient world. We can pronounce its words, their sounds shaped by a familiar Greek alphabet, but the meaning behind those sounds remains a profound mystery. This is the unique agony of the Etruscan case. It is not a locked door for which we seek a key, but a room we can enter, filled with people who are speaking, yet we cannot grasp a single sentence they say. The emotional core here is its profound isolation. Unlike most languages which belong to families with cousins and ancestors, Etruscan appears to have no living relatives. It is a linguistic island, utterly alone in time, and this solitude makes the decipherer's task uniquely daunting. Without the ability to compare it to a known language, scholars are forced to become detectives of context. They must read the room, not the words. A tomb becomes their primary text. They study the inscriptions beside sarcophagi, meticulously noting which names appear with which offerings. They analyze the art on the walls, the jewelry placed with the dead, the tools left for the afterlife. They look for patterns. If the word for a specific god appears repeatedly in tombs with images of a thunderbolt, they can cautiously infer its meaning. They have slowly built a small, fragile vocabulary this way, a handful of words whose meanings they feel reasonably sure about. Words for numbers, for familial relations like son or daughter, and for a few deities. But this is a worldview pieced together from a graveyard. It is as if we were trying to understand modern society using only epitaphs from a cemetery. We might learn about family structures and religious beliefs concerning death, but we would miss the poetry, the laws, the jokes, the daily gossip that truly defines a culture. The Etruscan voice is therefore a muted one. We hear the formal, public pronouncements made at the edge of the grave, but the private conversations, the stories told around the hearth, the songs sung at a festival, are lost forever. Their search is for a unique voice that helped shape early Rome, a civilization that was both a neighbor and a student to the Etruscans. Yet their own story whispers just beyond our comprehension, a testament to how a culture can be both known and profoundly unknown at the same time. This quest for lost voices carries a weight far beyond the academic. For communities whose ancestors created these scripts, every symbol recovered is a piece of a stolen identity returned. The work of decipherment transforms into a profound act of cultural healing, a reclamation of a narrative that was violently interrupted. Consider the ancient Egyptian language. For centuries, the voices of the pharaohs were utterly silent, their hieroglyphs a beautiful but meaningless mystery, yet a thread of their speech never truly died. It survived, transformed, in the Coptic language used by Egypt's Christian community for their religious liturgy. When Champollion used Coptic to crack the hieroglyphic code, he did more than solve a historical puzzle. He validated a living tradition, proving that the modern Coptic tongue was the direct descendant of the language of the pyramids. This created an unbroken bridge of sound spanning 3,000 years, a powerful affirmation of cultural survival against all odds. A similar, deeply personal reclamation is happening today in Mexico and Central America. For generations, the intricate Mayan glyphs were studied almost exclusively by foreign archaeologists. The modern Maya people were often disconnected from this glorious written record of their own civilization, a legacy of colonial efforts to erase their culture and languages. Now that is changing. A growing movement of Maya scholars, artists, and community leaders are actively learning to read the glyphs carved on the temples of their ancestors. They are not just passive recipients of this knowledge, they are active participants in its interpretation. They bring their living languages and their deep cultural understanding to the table, offering insights that an outside scholar might never grasp. A symbol that seems abstract to an academic might resonate with a story still told in a Maya village. This is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is the restoration of a birthright. It is the joyful and powerful moment when a community can look at the monumental history books written in stone and finally say, "This is our story, we can read it." This dimension changes everything. The decipherer is no longer a solitary genius in a distant library, but a partner in a community's journey home. The emotional weight of the work multiplies because the goal is no longer just to solve a puzzle, but to help mend a broken connection to the past, restoring pride, identity, and a sense of belonging that was nearly erased forever. The very materials that carry these ancient voices are locked in a constant, quiet war with time. Papyrus becomes brittle, fading into the color of sand. Clay tablets shatter, their inscribed messages lost in the fracture lines. Even stone erodes, its carved declarations softened by wind and rain until they are little more than ghostly impressions. For centuries, this slow decay felt like an inevitable defeat, a race we were destined to lose. But technology is now shifting the balance of this ancient conflict. We are no longer merely passive observers of this deterioration. We are becoming active participants in a grand digital rescue mission. High-resolution multispectral imaging acts like a form of supernatural sight, peering beneath the visible spectrum to detect traces of ink that have been chemically altered and rendered invisible to the naked eye. A seemingly blank piece of papyrus, dismissed for generations, can suddenly reveal a lost poem or a forgotten contract under this new light. Three-dimensional scanning captures the surface of a clay tablet with such incredible precision that a researcher can virtually run their fingers across the same grooves a scribe pressed into wet clay 4,000 years ago, feeling the subtle pressure variations and even identifying the scribe's unique stylistic quirks. And the creation of vast digital corpora has transformed a solitary pursuit into a global collaboration. A scholar in Tokyo can cross-reference a newly discovered fragment with thousands of digitized inscriptions housed in a museum in London, searching for matching phrases or symbols in seconds rather than years. This is pattern recognition on an industrial scale, revealing frequencies and connections that were simply impossible for the human eye to track across a scattered physical archive. This technological leap brings a profound new kind of optimism to the field. It feels like we have finally equipped ourselves with powerful flashlights to explore a vast dark cave. With every scan and every uploaded image, we are pushing back the shadows, illuminating corners of human history that were once thought to be lost forever. The emotional impact is one of empowerment. We are no longer solely at the mercy of time's relentless decay. We are actively fighting back, using the most sophisticated tools of the future to save the most fragile voices of the past. Every written word is a fragile object in a war against time. The scribe who pressed a stylus into clay or dipped a reed into ink believed they were creating something permanent. They were declaring a thought worthy of lasting forever. Yet the materials they trusted are locked in a constant, silent struggle with physics and chemistry. Papyrus, a marvel of ancient engineering, becomes as brittle as a dried leaf. The iron gall ink that once stood out in stark black on medieval parchment can slowly eat through the page, the words vanishing from the inside out. Clay tablets, seemingly indestructible, shatter upon impact, their stories lost along the fracture lines. Organic materials like wood and leather simply rot away, returning to the earth and taking their messages with them. This is the heartbreaking tension at the core of our search, the gap between the permanence the writer intended and the inevitable entropy of the physical world. The carbonized scrolls from the Library of Herculaneum are the ultimate symbol of this struggle. When Mount Vesuvius erupted, the volcanic ash that buried the town did not burn these papyrus rolls but baked them into blackened, fragile logs. For centuries, they were known to contain priceless Greek and Latin texts, but any attempt to unroll them would cause them to crumble into dust. They were like birds frozen in ash, their wings too delicate to touch. The emotional agony for scholars was profound. To hold a library in your hands and know its words were forever locked away inside. But now, advanced technology is changing that reality. Using sophisticated three-dimensional X-ray scanning and artificial intelligence, researchers are learning to virtually unroll these scrolls. They can digitally peel back the layers without ever touching the physical artifact, detecting the subtle trace of ink on the crinkled, carbonized surface. This is not just preservation, it is a form of digital resurrection. It means that a poem or a philosophical treatise unseen for 2,000 years might soon be read again. This constant race against decay injects a powerful urgency into the entire field. Every recovered script is not just an academic victory, it is a snatched moment rescued from the jaws of oblivion. It reminds us that before we can even begin to decipher a lost language, we must first win the battle to save the physical object that carries it. The emotional search for lost words always begins with saving the very thing those words are written on. That first moment of understanding is a shock to the system. It is the instant a collection of abstract shapes stops being a code and starts being a message. You are no longer looking at a pattern, you are listening to a person. This is the psychological core of decipherment, a sudden, dizzying collapse of the centuries that separate you. To read the complaint of a Babylonian merchant about a delayed copper shipment, or the proud boasts of a Mayan king about his ballgame victory, is to engage in a conversation with the past. It is a form of time travel achieved not through machinery but through empathy. The emotional impact for the researcher in that moment is immense. After years of solitary struggle, of staring at faceless symbols, a specific human personality suddenly emerges from the static. You hear their pride, their frustration, their very human concerns. This is what transforms the work from a dry academic exercise into something that feels almost spiritual. It is the powerful confirmation of a shared humanity. A 4,000-year-old Sumerian tablet recording the sale of a house reveals the same careful negotiation and desire for security we would understand today. An ancient Egyptian letter from a son to his absent father, pleading for new linens, echoes the universal dynamics of family life. The bureaucratic annoyances, the legal disputes, the simple lists of goods, all of it resonates because the minds that produced them were fundamentally like our own. This emotional resonance is the decipherer's ultimate, unspoken reward. It is the profound satisfaction of completing a circuit that was left open for millennia. In that moment of connection, you are not just solving a puzzle, you are fulfilling the original scribe's most fundamental hope, the hope etched into every mark they ever made, that their words would someday, for someone, be understood. And in doing so, you touch upon our own deepest desire to be heard, to leave a mark, and to have our own stories survive the relentless passage of time. A deciphered script is not just a solved puzzle, it is a reclaimed heritage, and this is where the work truly begins. The moment a lost language is understood, a profound ethical question emerges, one that pits the ideal of open knowledge against the rights of cultural ownership. Who has the ultimate authority over these resurrected words? The international academic institutions that often house the artifacts and fund the research, or the descendant communities for whom these texts are a sacred piece of their identity? This is the emotional conflict that follows every successful decipherment, a tension between the global library and the family archive. The Rosetta Stone itself is a powerful symbol of this struggle. It sits in the British Museum, a star attraction seen by millions, yet its physical presence in London is a point of deep contention for Egypt, which has repeatedly requested its return. The stone is a testament to colonial acquisition, a physical reminder that the key to one nation's history is held in another's hands. For researchers, the desire to make every scanned image and translated line freely available online is a noble one, driven by a belief that knowledge should have no borders. But for a community whose ancestors created that script, this can feel like a second dispossession, their most intimate stories becoming a global data set without their consent or control. The decipherer's role thus transforms from codebreaker to mediator. Their work does not end with a published paper. It enters a complex new phase involving cultural patrimony and ethical stewardship. It raises difficult questions. Should access to digital scans of fragile ancestral texts be restricted out of respect for spiritual beliefs? Does a foreign scholar have the right to publish a translation of a sacred hymn before the community's own elders have had a chance to interpret it? This is about more than ownership of physical objects. It is about the fundamental right of a people to be the first to hear their ancestors' true voices and to tell their own story with their own rediscovered words. The ultimate goal of decipherment shifts, becoming not just the recovery of a lost language, but the restoration of a narrative to its rightful heirs. The jungle itself seemed to be guarding the secret. For generations, the towering stone monolith stood draped in vines, their surfaces a chaotic mosaic of intricate, baffling glyphs. To the outside world, the ancient Maya were peaceful stargazers, mystical priests who charted the heavens from silent, empty temples. The glyphs were not seen as a true language, but as opaque religious symbols impossible to read. This comforting illusion was about to be shattered, and with it, our entire understanding of a civilization would be reborn. The key lay not in a single Rosetta Stone, but in a new way of looking. A scholar named Tatyana Proskoryakov made a brilliant, simple observation. She stopped treating the glyphs as isolated pictures and started reading them as a story told across the face of a stone stela. She noticed that certain clusters of symbols always appeared beside the carved image of a Maya ruler. These were not random religious invocations. They were historical records, meticulously chronicling the dates of a king's birth, his accession to the throne, his major military victories, and his death. In that moment, the silent stones began to speak, and what they said was a revelation. The Maya world was not a peaceful theocracy, but a landscape of powerful, rival city-states, ruled by ambitious dynasties obsessed with bloodline and legitimacy. Their history was written in wars, alliances, and the grand propaganda of kings who demanded to be remembered. The emotional impact of this decipherment was seismic. An entire civilization had to be reimagined from the ground up. The quiet, scholarly priests vanished, replaced by the booming voices of sovereigns like the great king of Tikal, Jasor Chan Kayawil, whose glyphs recount his decisive victory over a rival city, a triumph that echoed through the centuries. But the quake reached far beyond academic circles. For the modern Maya people, this was more than a historical correction. It was the reclamation of a stolen narrative. For too long, their ancestors had been portrayed as a mysterious, vanished race, their story written and defined by outsiders. Now they could point to the glyphs and say, "This is our history. These are the names of our kings. These are the records of our wars and our triumphs." The ability to read these texts restored a profound sense of historical agency. It allowed a living culture to reconnect with the monumental achievements of its past on its own terms, reclaiming a legacy of immense political and cultural sophistication that had been written over by myth. This case study stands as a permanent testament to a profound truth. Decipherment is never just about reading words. It is the ultimate act of historical reconstruction, a process that restores the glorious, complex, and sometimes brutal humanity to a people who refuse to be forgotten. A sheer limestone cliff in western Iran holds the story of its own decipherment. Carved high above the ancient road, the Behistun inscription was a monumental proclamation by King Darius the Great, a text meant to be seen by all but read by almost no one. For centuries, it stood as a silent monument to imperial power, its 3 scripts etched into a precipice so inaccessible that local legend claimed it was the work of a supernatural hand. The man who took on this vertical puzzle was Henry Rawlinson, a British Army officer possessed by an insatiable curiosity for the ancient past. His method was as dangerous as it was straightforward. He would scale the rock face, often with little more than ropes and wooden ladders, dangling precariously as he meticulously made papier-mâché casts of the intricate cuneiform symbols. This was not a scholarly exercise conducted in a quiet library. It was a physical and intellectual adventure, a literal high-stakes gamble where a single misstep could mean a fatal plunge. Rawlinson's raw courage was matched only by his determination to hear the voices locked in that stone. He knew that this trilingual inscription, like the Rosetta Stone, held the key. The known Old Persian text would unlock the unknown Elamite and finally the monumental Babylonian, the language of empires. His work, combined with the efforts of other linguists, did more than just crack a code. It kicked down the door to an entire world that had been almost completely erased from human memory. the civilization of Mesopotamia, the very cradle of cities, suddenly stepped out of the shadows and into the light. This was the recovery of our collective dawn. Through the wedge-shaped marks, we met the Sumerians who invented writing itself and pondered the heavens. We heard the epic of Gilgamesh, a king's desperate, heartbreaking quest for immortality that speaks to a very modern fear of death. We encountered the meticulous, often brutal, logic of Hammurabi's Code, one of the first attempts to build a society on written laws rather than arbitrary power. The emotional resonance of this recovery is almost overwhelming. To read a 4,000-year-old Babylonian merchant's letter complaining about the poor quality of incoming copper is to be struck by a profound sense of familiarity. Their world of commerce, law, and literature is the direct ancestor of our own. The decipherment of cuneiform did not just add a chapter to the history books. It gave us the first chapter. It fulfilled a deep, almost primal human need to understand where we came from, to meet the people who built the first urban societies, and to discover that their hopes, their struggles, and their voices were, in so many ways, just like our own. A formal education is not required to hear the whispers of the past. The history of decipherment is powerfully shaped by brilliant amateurs and outsiders, individuals who achieved breathtaking breakthroughs precisely because they lacked a traditional academic pedigree. Michael Ventris, the man who cracked Linear B, was by profession an architect. His mind was trained to see structural patterns and build systems from the ground up, a skill he applied to the ancient script with revolutionary results. He approached the problem not as a linguist bound by established theories, but as a codebreaker following the evidence wherever it led. This pattern of passionate obsession over formal training repeats itself again and again. Consider the Bedouin shepherd boy chasing a stray goat into a cave near the Dead Sea. His accidental discovery of clay jars containing ancient leather scrolls was not the result of a planned archaeological dig. It was a moment of pure serendipity, driven by a simple, everyday task. That single, unplanned act unveiled the Dead Sea Scrolls, a library that would transform our understanding of ancient Judaism and the early textual history of the Bible. What these figures share is an emotional drive that transcends professional boundaries. It is a raw, personal need to solve the mystery, a conviction that the silent text can be made to speak. This passion often proves to be a more powerful qualification than any degree. An outsider brings a fresh perspective, a mind unburdened by the conventional wisdom that can sometimes blind established experts to new possibilities. They are not afraid to ask naive questions or to propose solutions that defy academic orthodoxy. There is a profound emotional appeal to this democratization of discovery. It suggests that the past does not belong exclusively to institutions and universities. It whispers that lost civilizations are willing to speak to anyone who is willing to listen with patience and an open heart. This idea reinforces the core humanity of the entire quest. The search for lost voices is not a closed, elitist club. It is an open invitation, a fundamentally human endeavor that rewards curiosity and dogged perseverance no matter where they are found. That silence is a void filled with more than just forgotten kings and crumbled cities. We have lost their poetry, the verses that might have captured the shimmer of sunlight on the Aegean Sea. We have lost their jokes, the playful barbs traded in the bustling courtyards of Knossos that would have revealed their sense of humor. Every personal letter, every merchant's hastily scrawled receipt, every child's writing exercise is gone, taking with it the mundane, intimate texture of a lived life. This is the true emotional weight of an unread script. It is not merely a missing data set. It is the loss of a unique worldview, a philosophy, a way of explaining the cosmos that vanished before it could be shared. The vibrant, energetic art of the Minoans shows a people deeply connected to nature and ritual, but without their words, we can only guess at the stories behind the leaping dolphins and the powerful bull dancers. Their prayers are silent, their songs have no melody. This creates a permanent gap in the human story, a chapter torn from the book of our collective past, leaving us to wonder what essential wisdom or beautiful thought was lost forever in that great silencing. To understand this profound, aching absence is to understand the fuel that drives the decipherer's relentless, often quixotic quest. It is the need to fill that silence, to restore not just a language, but a people's entire emotional and intellectual world. A new partner now joins the quest to listen to these ancient whispers. Artificial intelligence is not a replacement for the human passion that has driven decipherment for centuries, but a powerful amplifier of it. These machine learning algorithms can process the entire known corpus of a lost script in moments, analyzing patterns of symbol frequency and positional relationships across thousands of inscriptions. They can test millions of hypothetical language correlations in minutes, a task that would take a team of human linguists multiple lifetimes. The emotional promise this holds is staggering. It offers the tangible hope of a great decipherment within our own lifetime, a breakthrough that could finally unlock the profound mysteries of Linear or the silent seals of the Indus Valley. Imagine an AI cross-referencing every known symbol of the Indus script against every documented language family, living and dead, searching for a structural match that has eluded us for generations. This is the new frontier, yet this powerful tool also raises a deeply human question. Will the aha moment, that electric jolt of understanding, feel the same if it is delivered by a machine? The triumph of Champollion or Ventris was deeply personal, a victory born of obsession and intuitive leaps. Can a cold, logical process replicate the emotional resonance of that connection? The answer likely lies not in a choice between human and machine, but in a profound partnership. The future of decipherment will be a collaboration, combining our emotional drive and cultural insight with their sheer, unfeeling computational power. We will provide the questions, the context, and the deep need to understand. The AI will provide the patterns, the probabilities, and the brute force testing. It will be the ultimate tool, allowing us to hear the faintest whispers from the deepest past, whispers we have been straining to hear for far too long. Every human being understands the deep-seated fear of being forgotten. This universal dread is the silent engine behind our family photo albums, our gravestones, and our hope that we might leave some small mark on the world. The quest to decipher a lost script is humanity's most ambitious answer to that fear. It is a collective promise that a thought, carefully inscribed, can journey across dozens of generations and still find a receptive mind waiting on the other side. When you read a translation of a 4,000-year-old Sumerian poem about the loss of a child or a Maya king's pride in his city, you are not just learning history. You are participating in a miracle of connection. You are proving that the passage of time, which feels so absolute and isolating, is not quite the barrier we assume it to be. This is why the search matters to everyone. It is a profound affirmation that our own struggles, our own joys, and our own stories have weight and meaning. If a Babylonian merchant's complaint about a late shipment can resonate with us today, then perhaps our own lives will echo forward as well. Each deciphered word is a victory over oblivion, a reassurance that our shared human experience is a continuous thread, never truly broken. It reinforces the powerful idea that no person and no civilization is completely lost as long as there is someone, anyone, left who cares enough to seek out their words and listen. Every mark left on clay or stone represents a defiant shout against the coming silence. Writing is our species' most ambitious attempt to cheat death, a message sealed in a bottle and cast into the vast ocean of time. When those scripts vanish, when the bottles sink unseen, a part of our collective story disappears with them, leaving a void in the grand narrative of who we are. The decipherers, those remarkable individuals driven by equal parts logic and passion, are the heroes who wade into the waves. They are the ones who find these submerged bottles, carefully uncork them, and offer us the priceless gift of the message inside. From the triumphant crack of the Rosetta Stone's code to the silent, ongoing struggle with scripts like Linear A, this entire quest is a testament to something fundamental within us. It is our relentless drive to connect, to understand our origins, and to fulfill the ancient promise that our stories deserve to be remembered. This journey through lost words teaches us that history is so much more than a list of dates and kings. It is about the enduring, emotional power of a single human voice, reaching out from the darkness, hoping to be heard. If this exploration has moved you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Which lost script would you most want to hear speak again? Let us know, and subscribe to continue this journey into the profound mysteries of our shared past. The principles that guide a decipherer form a powerful toolkit for any conversation with the past. At the heart of this work is the relentless search for a key, a bilingual or trilingual text like the Rosetta Stone that provides a direct translation. This is the most precious gift a decipherer can find, a linguistic bridge built by the ancient world itself. Without such a key, the work becomes far more complex, relying on a blend of other powerful methods. Comparative linguistics allows researchers to listen for echoes, to place an unknown script within a family of known languages, searching for familiar grammatical structures or word patterns. This is how Ugaritic was understood, its Semitic roots providing a framework for its strange new alphabet. Alongside this, statistical analysis brings the cold, hard power of numbers to the quest. By analyzing the frequency of symbols and their relationships, computers can reveal the invisible skeleton of a language, proving whether a script follows the rules of genuine speech, as with the ongoing analysis of the Vanish manuscript. Yet data alone is never enough. The fourth principle is perhaps the most human of all, the insistence on understanding the archaeological context. A text is never just a sequence of symbols, it is a physical object with a story. It was found in a tomb, a temple, or a merchant's house. The images carved beside it, the artifacts buried with it, these elements provide the emotional scenery for the words. This context breathed life into the Mayan glyphs, transforming them from abstract pictures into the historical records of kings when scholars connected them to the stelae they adorned. Wielding all these tools requires the final and most personal principle, an unwavering perseverance and an open mind. The solution rarely comes from the expected direction. It demands the intellectual courage to follow a hunch, like Grotefen's guess about Persian royal titles, and the resilience to face years of dead ends. This entire toolkit, from the logical to the intuitive, is powered by a fundamental passion. It is our best hope for ensuring that the silent voices of the past do not